Hey there, everybody. Shell Brodnax here with an episode of Stager Talk, RESACON edition. And I am super stoked today because I am talking to the wonderful, the brilliant Melina Gray. How are you?
Hi, great intro. I love that.
So we're all brilliant. We want to uplift other women, and that is what my goal is to do here with Stager Talk, as well as educate and uplift other women. And today we're going to talk about short-term rentals.
Yes, super excited.
Yeah, so you are speaking at RESACON this year for the very first time.
I am. Yeah, first time I've ever been to it and the first time I'll be speaking at it.
Oh boy, you're hitting the double whammy. We're just going to sink you right in, get you full immersion RESACON.
I am so excited. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is fun. And we're back at the M Resort. So you don't know, but before we try to keep the same hotel every year because your staff at the hotel are really my boots on the ground. And if we were to move hotels around, which has been suggested by people that don't event plan, and will not happen on my watch because that's a train wreck waiting to happen, been there, done it. They're my boots on the ground, and they learn my program and learn my staff, and we all work together, and then we talk to each other throughout the year. So it's really a great thing to be able to do. But last year they didn't have my dates, and we couldn't change because we work with the Las Vegas market. So this year we got dates, but they were just off by 2 small days, but we made it work. So we're at the M Resort again. That's our home base, and it's luxury, great food, killer restaurants. No riffraff.
I looked on online because I've not been to that hotel because everything changes in Vegas too. There's one, it's a hotel today, and then in 2 years it's a different hotel. So I'm so excited. It looked really nice, and I get to meet all these new amazing people in the industry. I'm super excited.
That's the other part of RESACON. Yeah. So the sessions are great. So we're going to talk about your session today, but that's the other thing with RESACON is that the networking and the camaraderie and just the feedback that you get from your peers by sitting in a breakfast with somebody, and you're sitting at a table with 6 to 8 other professionals, and the conversations that you hear and that you will exchange will be business changing. It is just really those little nuggets that you walk away with. In addition to the sessions that are going to give you lots of nuggets to walk away with, you just get nuggets galore everywhere.
And I feel like that's where the magic, that is where you build like you said, camaraderie and relationships, but that's where ideas spur, or you have these side conversations and you're like, man, I never thought of that. Or, or you find people that you want to connect with outside of RESACON. So.
Yeah. Well, the good thing too is that, something we're very fortunate at HQ is that we talk to all stagers, all backgrounds, all over the world, especially North America, which is our primary focus. And one thing that stagers say is we're different. We're different over here. And and us here, we're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Everybody's got the same types of problems. I mean, there's small differences from here to there, like the type of the architecture and the things like that. And some of the markets are different, but the general business problems of stagers, they're universal. And it is nice because if you are a stager in your local area, you might just have your local chapter, which is also great and wonderful, but everybody's coming at from the same local perspective. But, if you live in Detroit, Michigan, and you come to RESACON and you sit with somebody that's from Santa Clarita, California, and you share ideas, you're going to be amazed that someone from Santa Clarita, California solved your Detroit, Michigan problem. Yeah. It's just thinking outside that box and sharing data.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm getting pumped now talking about it.
I know, me too. It's hard to believe we're already in April. After RESACON, we come home and we die for about 3 weeks. Yeah. And then we're already planning the next RESACON 2024 is already starting to be planned. So it's constant all the time that we're working on it. But your topic is short-term rental. So this is something, man, the last 4 years. Wow. What happened?
I know. And I feel like it started kind of in the pandemic because hotels were shut down or people just didn't feel comfortable, kind of exposing themselves. And so I think this whole short-term rental was popular, but then it went next level popular. And it also allowed individuals that maybe were in their home to decide to turn their own property into a short-term rental, or it gave them the opportunity to start investing. So I just think it was an interesting combination of everything. And then once the pandemic started, people started going back to their normal life, I think you're already accustomed to taking advantage of these short-term rentals. And now there's so many more on the market that you were just comfortable. You're like, I can't live without a kitchen. I kind of want to feel the comfort of my house. I don't want to go stay in a hotel, you know? It's just so much nicer. Like for us, we have children, and short-term rentals is just like how we travel now. It's just being cramped in a hotel room, you know, you don't have all the necessities. Sometimes you want to cook, you know? And so we do find that the market is nuts. And I feel like it's just on this trajectory to keep going.
Yeah, I love it because it's, you know, an additional service levels that stagers can do. And there's so many business models with stagers.
Mhm.
You could just do consultations if you wanted to, or some just like the occupies and some just like the vacants, and everybody kind of gets drawn to different things. But what I like about the short-term rental is that I would imagine this would be true. You can correct me if it's not, but you can do a whole kind of different type of creativity in something like that. Whereas staging, you are creative and you can be creative in how you tackle issues. But in the short-term rentals, boy, man, you can really make some stuff happen. I do short-term rentals and I love them. And I love walking in and going, dang, this is nice.
Well, and that's exactly it. So in the staging realm, you, like you said, you can really flex those creative muscles. Every house is different. It's going to have its own challenges. But in residential staging, you're kind of sometimes in this box only in the sense because you want to be able to attract the middle of the bell-shaped curve, right? You want to attract as many buyers, right? And in some houses, you can't go too crazy with certain colors or certain whatever it is, because you do want to really do whatever you can to attract people to the home and accentuate the home that you're in. Whereas short-term rentals, I feel like you can do these, you can just be uber creative. You can go wild with color. You can go wild with texture. You can throw, you know, a crazy sofa or whatever it is. You can really get super creative, and it's encouraged. And people that stay in short-term rentals are excited to stay in the next one. And they're going through the photos and looking like, how cool is that room? Or what is that? Or if you're in, you know, Nashville, you can go into one that has like the whole country, you know, country music theme. And so it's an experience that you can offer through your staging when you're doing short-term rentals. It's just fun.
I like that word because you are really giving somebody an experience. And it's, you know, I love them because like you said, you like to want to be able to go to the grocery store and cook a little bit, just be just a little bit more relaxed than being in a hotel sometimes. And also I think you sleep a lot better.
You do, yeah.
I just sleep a lot better in a short-term rental in a home than I do in a hotel room. There's all the extra noise and all the goofiness that, and you're never, the air's never right. And
or you have to go downstairs and get water or whatever the case is, or you get there late and, you know, it's just, there's all these other factors. Or you can stay in an awesome short-term rental in Phoenix or wherever that's has this really cool, unique vibe that you know, maybe you're in there taking photos, maybe it's a girls' weekend, there's a pool, you have your private pool or hot tub. Like it's just a totally different experience. And I think that's what really has drawn what's drawn us to this short-term rental world, is that you can be really creative. And also sometimes, like, you know, when you're staging for a home, you do want to not go too wild in certain ways because, you know, you're trying to sell that home. Whereas short-term rental, once again, going back, like you can get super creative and make it really fun. And what I've loved and what you see a lot now are themes. Yeah. So sometimes what my clients do is they literally tell me, I'm really feeling this boho theme, or I'm really feeling this very modern country Western theme. So we're going to have cow hides and this and pops of color. Or what we're seeing a lot here in this area is bachelor and bachelorette parties. Like, how fun is that? There's some that you go just over the top with pink and glitter, and it's just all picture worthy. And those are memories that you've made in a home and pictures that you'll have forever. And you're just going to refer that, you know, you're going to refer that same short-term rental to your next girlfriend that's having a bachelorette party. Yeah, absolutely. So something, we've stayed in short-term rentals in the Nashville area. Yeah. And I will say, when we look through them, we're like, man, that's so nice. It's so awesome. We love it. You know what else I like about the business model of this is that people that are new to being an investor and investing in their short-term rental, if you're new, they don't know what they're doing.
And they can really rely on the stager that offers short-term rental services to teach them, this is how you're the best host. This is what the staples that you need to keep stored in here. This is, you should have the same color towels.
Yes.
Don't overly bleach the crap out of your sheets. That's a big problem recently.
And you know, one thing, just being in the short-term world and being a super host myself, there are a lot of nuances that from an outside perspective, you would think, oh yeah, I got this, I know. But when you're getting feedback directly from your guests, you'd be so surprised. One thing I know is a big deal, just because you said don't over bleach, but scent is a big deal. And you would think that, you know, I want to have like air fresheners, all this. The majority of my guests do like very minimal scent. And if there's too much, like too many candles or the fabric softener, a lot of people, it really turns them away.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, like they want a very clean smell, but they don't want overly fragranced or anything like that. So just, you know, like there are a very common things that you can do to attract more guests. Yeah, say pillow or I'm sorry, towels, you know, simple as having a dark makeup towel, stuff like that, you know, that you don't think about.
I love them when they provide those. And I've always tried to bring my own, but
yeah.
my husband misplaces them when he does the laundry, but
yeah, providing all the small things, like we go out of our way to provide everything from like cotton balls and Q-tips. Like you don't think about that, and it's so cheap, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah. And another thing too is that, you know, if you're marketing your short-term rental as something that is good for retreats or business people, having a small printer
yes,
with some paper, like when you make a little office, or sometimes they have a little alcove that they make into a little area that you can plug into and that you can print something if you need to. Game changer.
Yep. Huge. So that and like small things like in each room to have just a frame with a QR code so they can just scan the Wi-Fi, or in each room there's literally the Wi-Fi with the password, so that way they're not like going back through the book or going back to the directions or asking their host because they're one of the guests. Like you just have it throughout the house in each room and they're like, oh, there it is.
That's brilliant. See, I would not have thought about that. That's really a good idea. And it's one of those things where you're always looking through the book.
Yes.
You're like, where was the Wi-Fi? I know I found it in here. I saw it in here already. What was it? So here's another thing with the short-term rentals. I would imagine if you get a really great business model and you're really good at what you're doing as a stager, that this can actually be really profitable for your business.
It can, and especially with so many people wanting to get into the short-term rental market that have maybe never had rentals, never flipped a home, and are very new to it, but really want to jump in. What's great about hiring a stager is this is, you know, you have experience in all realms of not only staging, but also the client services side of it. So you can make all these small recommendations. And then the other thing that you're going to have that maybe somebody just coming off the street wanting to do this won't know is the materials and the type of things you put in a short-term rental have to be a lot more durable, because they're getting sat on and used. And although we would like to say that we take care of things in a short-term rental like we would in our own home, you know, you're there on vacation, like, you know, you're sitting there in a wet towel from the, you know, just stuff like that. So you have to also think about the durability, because also furniture is not cheap. So when you buy the furniture, whether it be the color, the fabric, the style, you want to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck and that it's going to last. And that's the biggest thing. So you want to make sure what you're putting in there, even if it's outdoor furniture, so you know that it's not going to break or it's not going to, you know, get torn up. And then also on the flip side, there are going to be certain things within a short-term rental that you have to understand might just break. So there has to be a fine line with like not spending too much, like not putting a really special painting that you could never find again in a short-term rental, because that it can get damaged, you know? So you have to know that fine line of how to be very selective with your product, like, and materials, durability, but then also don't go overboard and go to Restoration Hardware and buy a beautiful white sofa and put it in there, you know? So.
Right, for sure. What do you think is the biggest furniture decor mistake that someone would make when they're starting to design a short-term rental? And then I'll tell you what I think mine are.
We might think the same thing.
So maybe.
I hate to say this. I feel like I'm going to have a lot of people like, no. Light sofas. I see it is so many times. I see it in photos, like these beautiful beige sofa. And I'm like, how is that thing staying clean? I'm sorry. I don't know how, unless it's the most durable fabric that doesn't stain. I just think going super light with high traffic furniture is just a recipe for disaster. Unless you're in there cleaning it every time, but I don't know how, I mean, just
cleaning it's gonna, even if you clean the fabric, that's you're destroying your fibers. This first time you do it, it's being denigrated. So that doesn't hold up very long.
The biggest thing I see is like, really, they go in and they, you know, and I understand that you want to give this beautiful, clean, crisp, but maybe not in a short-term rental, because, you know, it's a short-term rental. And even in your own home, you're going to, you know, a beautiful ivory couch. It's really hard to maintain. So I wouldn't put it in a short-term rental.
Yeah. So mine is the beds, the pipe beds, those cheap pipe little kid beds that you're trying to cram an adult in, and poor pillows that are completely flat and just been totally flattened out. And it's like the amount of mites that are in those makes my skin crawl. And it's like you go in these places, and if your beds are squeaking every time you turn over and all of that, and the poor bedding, those are things that just kill me in a short term.
Some of the beds, I can totally see that. You sit on it and it's creaking and creaking. And also sometimes, like, what I notice is failure to put like maybe a throw rug in a room that may really needs it, that, you know, it's like a cold tile floor or something, just to warm up the room. And I would always make suggestions that if you're worried about, like, you know, area rugs getting destroyed, indoor outdoor rugs are great for short-term rentals. And now they're so stylish. And so they're great. It adds a little bit of noise reduction and it softens a room up. But yeah, there's always these small, every short-term rental I go in, I think I see something. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I would put that. Also, I have been seeing a lot of maybe over accessorizing. And that's one thing I see a lot. Like, there's just a bunch of stuff everywhere. You also want to go in and it's a very clean, stylized feel, but you don't want the countertop full of just stuff. You know, I think that's where the variation between staging a home and a short-term rental comes into play. Whereas you would have like books and maybe some like fake flowers, all this stuff to really accentuate in a staging atmosphere. But for short-term rental, like, how do you keep all that clean? You know, you really have to, then you're paying your cleaners, or you're in there making sure everything's dusted, and you just have a lot of stuff. You know, you also want clean surfaces.
Yeah, clean is the thing. I'm a bath taker, so it's like, I'm not going to lie. When I book a hotel or a short-term rental, I'm always looking like, do they have a steeping tub? Do they have a jetted tub? What kind of luxury bath experience does Shell get to have at this place? And then when you get there, and it's dirty and it's got mold in it, it's like, no.
And the other thing that we do is, once a quarter, I have my cleaner actually go in and do a deep clean. We actually go in and clean the furniture, you know, with a hand steamer. We actually have the carpets cleaned, because, you know, even though the guest might be only staying a couple of days, it's a lot of wear and tear. Like we said, you're not treating it like your own home. You might be dragging stuff in on your shoes. You might be sitting on a sofa with a wet towel from the pool. So maintaining that cleaning is a huge deal. Replacing the pillows often, replacing the towels. When the towels are getting dingy, get rid of them and have a stockpile of towels, because those are things that you expect to be clean and crisp, like it would in a hotel.
Yep. I also like it when they do in the kitchens, the same dishes, the same cups, the same have it be uniform, instead of it looking like you went to
the
thrift store
on
Sunday and got their blue tag special and just bought whatever was there.
And it's literally, I've had people reach out to me and say, I set up my short-term rental, and I went to Goodwill. I went to Goodwill and I grabbed them, like, Was it a goodwill find, or was it like, you just grabbed a mishmash of like grandma's old mugs and, different glasses? Yeah.
Yep, I know. So I actually went to the store and bought all nice little uniform things. And it's only a small, like 500 or 600 square feet. So it's like only got a setting for 4 because we're not having a bunch of people in here. And no, I don't get to use them. They're in my basement. So good times. Can't wait to break them back out again. So
Well, and it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be super expensive. Like when it comes to things like the dishware and stuff, also you have to expect that it's going to get broken.
yes.
And so I really like to lean on like IKEA because IKEA will carry the same tumbler or the same glass forever.
Yep.
So just go buy a bunch. And so when one breaks, you just replace it with another one. And you know that they're going to have them in stock forever.
Yep, for sure. So how does one find, if you're a stager and you're wanting to get into this, how are those stagers finding those clients, those investors in order to get these jobs? Besides, obviously, you're going to put it up on your website. You just want to attract it that way. But what's an outbound measure that they can take?
That's a great question. So there's a couple different ways you can essentially find these clients. I think the biggest touch point that a lot of these clients are going to have are going to be their realtors. So if these are clients that are actually with their realtor looking for a potential Airbnb property, the realtors are going to be the ones that know why their client's buying that property. So if you already have good relationships with certain realtors, or if you visit during certain real estate companies, let them know that you're offering this service, or include it in your email, your outbound email to them. The other thing too is where I've found a lot of postings where I'm able to really promote myself is Facebook groups. So specifically here in Arizona, there's like 5 Arizona Facebook groups for short-term rentals, Airbnb Super Host, all these different ones, and they're so active. I would say that would be one of the best places to actually start. And there's often people that jump on there and say, hey, I need a designer. Hey, I need a cleaner, or whatever it is. That would be my main go-to. Are these Facebook groups are super active. And then, also just, we talked about the real estate side. If you go to investor groups, so, there's local investor groups that meet monthly, and they even sometimes have certain meetings that are dedicated. One topic is actually short-term rentals. So that's a great place because that's where a lot of investors actually go, because they're investors in not only short-term rentals, but long-term and even flips. So that's a great place to find other investors that might be just starting the process of looking at a short-term rental. And then that's where you kind of plug yourself in.
Yeah, absolutely. So like stagers have RESA. So we have RESA chapters. Those are the meetings that you guys have now in order to support what it is that you're doing. Agents have their local association of realtors and their groups that they go to, Women's Council of Realtors. The investors have their groups. And one thing that I've always said from stagers is like, if you want to get business from agents and you have a choice of joining the Chamber of Commerce, BMI, or your local association of realtors, if you want business from agents, you need to party where they party, and you should be going to the local association of realtors. And the same thing with the investors. If you want to find investors, you need to hang out where they're hanging out. You need to kind of just go and infiltrate as an affiliate member and get in, because when they do those meetings talking about short-term rentals, you can also submit to speak about it or sponsor something.
Yeah, and you can have a booth there. So here we have the ASREA meetings every month, and then they have these like bi-monthly little other topics that you can go to. So not only the monthly meetings that they have booths and such, but they also have weekly meetings in between the monthly. The other thing too is understand that the market is very different now, and there's a lot of people that are getting into the short-term market very specific, but there's also a subset of investors that what they're doing is maybe they're flipping a home, or maybe they have a home on the market and it doesn't sell right away and they don't want to go long-term. I've been seeing a lot of these investors are now turning these possible flips or homes that were on the market into short-term rentals. So that's why I think the investor group is so important, because maybe they initially didn't go into the property thinking it was going to be a short-term rental, but then changed their business model. And I've been seeing that a lot. Even some that I've staged for have actually, that's where I've gotten some of my clients. I've staged for their flip home. It didn't sell. And then they called me and they're like, do you stage for short-term rentals? I'm like, yes, I do. It's on my side, And so I have a couple clients that I've grabbed that way. And I've helped them through their short-term rental.
Yep. I like that because referral business, when your repeat clients come back, you're really doing something well. And they came back to you even though it didn't sell.
Yeah.
So I got to give you props for that, because I will definitely say that probably the first person to blame is, let's blame the staging, or maybe not the agent per se, but that's awesome if it didn't sell and they're like, hey, we know this one didn't sell. Not your fault. Come do another job for me. I love that.
Yeah. I actually had one. I have two interesting stories, but I had one, the house did sell. I staged the home, the house sold. The buyer was to buy all the art and some furnishings. And I was like, you're always like, do I sell? Do I not sell?
Right.
I ended up selling him all the art. He wanted every single piece of art that I staged with. I'm like, wow, there's 20 pieces of art gone. But then he came back to me. I have a good relationship with the realtor, and he was like, do you do short-term? He's like, I feel like you do short-term rentals. I saw it somewhere. I said, I do. So then I helped him with his short-term rental, the new buyer. The other story I was telling you, I staged for another investor. We've had great success with a lot of his flips. The very last home that he remodeled for a flip did not sell. And him and I have been working together. He's now brought me on to help him stage and decorate his short-term rental. And I staged for him previously. I mean, this is his 4th house.
That's awesome. You're doing something right.
I hope so. Keep it up.
See, this is why you're the expert, and this is why you are speaking on this topic. So we're already at the end of our time. I know these shows go by so fast, but it was such a pleasure to get to know you today and to talk about this. Is clearly a great passion of yours. So thank you for coming on the show. Any final words?
No final words. I am super excited. That's all I can say. I am so pumped for this. First time at RESA. I am really excited to talk about this topic. And I love that there's going to be a Q&A session, because I feel like this is where you learn a lot. Yep. So I'm going to obviously have all the material available for you. But what I'm really excited about is the Q&A session. So come with questions. We're excited to discuss it.
Love it. Love it. All right, everybody. I say it at the end of every single show. If you're on that fence, what are you supposed to do? Jump off that fence, run to your computer, clickety clack clack, and get your ticket today. RESAConvention.com. Do not wait until the last minute. Do not fly all the way across the country to Las Vegas from the East Coast without a ticket, because they have fire laws and occupancy laws, and I want to be able to let you in. So it's amazing how many people do that. Get your ticket in advance so you can get the best price possible, because there is last minute pricing after a certain date in July. So the prices do go up. Until next time, everybody, Melina Gray, thank you for joining me. Happy staging to the rest of you.